So I think it's really important to just go over with people what to expect during a session. And I will go over this again with you during your session, but it's good to hear it several times. So how does a session start? Sessions are either on a phone with one-to-one sessions, or we are doing group Zooms. Both are semi-similar. I only do Zoom sessions with groups. So if you're having a one-to-one session with me, it will be on the phone. So when we get on the phone together, I will go over everything and I will basically explain that I start off doing what I call as my tuning in time. My tuning in time consists of me sitting quietly with a pen and paper in hand, and I am just writing down everything I see, feel, and hear around you. I will explain to you that while I'm tuning in, it's very important for you not to beg your loved ones, please come through, please say this, please say that. Instead, sit quietly and think about what it is you want and what it is you need from your session. And you might have an answer to both those questions. You might not have an answer to either one. I'm not looking or going to ask you for the answer that you came up with. Instead, it's really important to go inward to just ask yourself the question. So as I'm tuning in, you're asking yourself that question. And you can also thank your loved ones for showing up. Thank you for coming through. Thank you for letting me know you're here. Thank you for letting me know you're okay. However you want to say it, but I always teach people to make sure you thank them for showing up. Don't beg them to show up. Act as if they're already here because they are. So when I'm done tuning in, what I do is I then take a photograph of the paper I just wrote everything on, and I will email it to you before our session begins. It's up to you whether you want to access your email and look at it while we're on the phone or look at it later. That's up to you. I'm only sending it to you before we start the session for proof's sake of what I've written. Yeah, what do I mean? Say during the session, I wind up asking you for someone's first name. I ask you, hey, what's their name? This could be someone living. This could be someone deceased. And you might tell me a name, Teddy. And I'll say, yeah, I have that name on my paper. But of course, if you can't see the medium because we're on the phone, if I were you, I'd be like, yeah, right. She totally did not have that name on the paper. There's no way she's a liar. That's how I would be. I would think that. I would not believe that person. So I get it. So I send you the paper ahead of time so you can see the timestamp of when I sent it. You can see, yes, I had that name or that song or that car type or whatever is coming on my paper. You will see that, yes, I do have it. Sometimes I don't have the names on the paper, but I'm sending you the paper so that you can see what I have written ahead of time. I always tell everybody to hold all your questions until the end because I always do feel I will be guided to answer your questions before you say them to me out loud. So if there's anything that you want to ask, I will absolutely ask you to hold it towards the end. I will also ask you 2 questions. You will hear me ask for first names of living and deceased. If we're talking about someone who's still physically here, you will hear me ask you their first name. And the same, if I can't feel that I'm receiving the information or connecting with the person on the other side, I will ask you for their first name. Names are like vibrations to me, and I can feel the energy and presence of people through their names. So I will ask that question. The other question I'll ask is some sort of form of, you'll hear me say, does that make sense? Do you know what I'm talking about? Does that resonate? And I say this because I have to remind people that I have no idea what I'm talking about when I'm connecting with your loved ones. I don't know you. I don't know them. Nothing to me makes sense because I don't have the memories. I don't have the interaction you have with them. So if I say, I don't know, they're showing me a bunny jumping off a bicycle, and that means nothing to me. That's weird. And I say to you, does that make sense? And they're like, oh my gosh, yes, that makes sense. Sometimes people will want to go into detail and tell me what I'm talking about. Like someone will say, oh my gosh, Deborah, that's so funny. I had an Aunt Bunny and we always brought her bicycles because she loved to bicycle. And they tell me this big story about why I'm seeing Bunny on a bicycle. And I will interrupt you. I will tell you, no, don't talk. Be quiet. Don't talk. Sometimes I sound rude or feel like I sound rude because I'm like, shh, don't talk. Don't say anything. I don't want you to explain to me what I'm talking about. I just want to know, does that make sense to you? Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you know what they're referring to? If you do, that's good for me. I don't need to know. One, because the whole point of this session is for me to tell you things, not for you to tell me things. So I don't want you talking too much. And secondly, when someone talks too much, it's breaking my focus. So I will interrupt you. And sometimes I will say, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound rude, but be quiet, don't talk. So those are the 2 questions you will hear me ask. What else can I go over? I always try to make sure I'm connecting you with the main and most significant energies or people who have passed around you. I cannot guarantee that they will come through. I cannot guarantee that I can get someone to talk or that I can feel someone or hear someone. I never will guarantee that, even if I've sat with you 20 times. I will not tell you on the 21st time that your people absolutely will come through, because I just don't know. But I always like to at least try to make sure I try to connect you with the main and most significant energies, because anybody could come through your session. But we don't necessarily want your entire session filled with, your neighbor's sister who you never met. I mean, that's rare that would happen. But of course, now you're listening to this, it's totally going to happen to you. But you get what I'm saying. So I want to, my goal is to make sure I'm connecting with your loved one clearly. I'm giving you the messages clear as you need and want. And there's time for questions and understanding this whole process. So that's a lot. I'm glad you listen to this whole video through and through. I appreciate that. And I do hope that I can connect you or connect with you for you to connect with your loved ones soon.